The DAZN Boxing Show is on the road, and we're in Orlando, Florida, the theme park capital of the world, for what we hope will be a roller coaster night of boxing on Saturday. Welcome to the weekend preview, brought to you by AutoZone. Chris Mannix here with the former junior middleweight champion, Sergio Mora. And Sergio, a lot on the line for Edgar Berlanga when he takes on Padraig McCrory on Saturday in Orlando. Berlanga was a rising star early in his career, 16 straight first-round knockouts, but his last 5 fights have gone to a decision. A lot of the shine has come off Edgar Berlanga since then. So, going into this fight with McCrory, what do you want to see from Edgar Berlanga?
I want to see what everyone wants to see, that Edgar Berlanga get back to his knockout ways, especially when you start doing it in the first round so consistently. I mean, that's what happens when you knock out everyone, Mannix. Everyone thinks you're the next coming of Julian Jackson and Mike Tyson. Then all of a sudden, you start fighting guys that have been on the championship level and you start going the distance. You're still winning convincingly, but you're not getting the knockouts no more. So that shine, like you said, starts to come off the monster. So Edgar Berlanga needs to get the knockout against an unbeaten fighter. That's going to be difficult, I would say. But, I think this is a calculated, matchup when it comes to Berlanga. So Berlanga needs a knockout, should get a knockout. And this is the type of fight where the fans demand a knockout. It's knockout or bust, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was just a couple of weeks ago that we saw Jaime Munguia have basically a career-defining win against John Ryder. Knocked John Ryder down a few times, eventually knocked him out. Munguia is someone that Berlanga is being compared to. He's a peer of Edgar Berlanga in the 168-pound division. I think Berlanga needs to look just as impressive or better than Jaime Munguia. And I think he's got the right opponent in front of him to do it. Padraig McCrory, has not faced many top-tier guys, but when he's been in the ring, he has been aggressive. He has looked for knockouts. He is going to be there for Edgar Berlanga to hit. Edgar Berlanga needs to let his hands go. It's as simple as that. He wants the big fights. He's got to let his hands go and score a knockout to get it. I thought we saw some flashes of the old Edgar Berlanga in the 12th round against Jason Quigley. He spent the first 11 rounds fighting more of a cautious fight. He did, Sergio. He did. He spent the first 11 rounds fighting a more deliberate, cautious fight. In the 12th round, he started to let his hands go, and he knocked Jason Quigley down. I want to see a continuation of that. I want to see that the old monster, the old destroyer, is still within Edgar Berlanga. Because, Sergio, if he can't do it against someone like Padraig McCrory, I don't think there's a fighter out there he can do it against.
So for 11 rounds, Berlanga was biding his time with Quigley, huh? Okay, let's not open up that chapter again. You know how I felt about that fight. Look,
Yes,
Berlanga
I do.
struggles.
Yes, I do.
Berlanga struggles in cutting off the ring. That power has turned against him now. That's what happens to knockout punchers when everyone goes down when you hit them. Once they start fighting fighters that have been on the championship level. Jason Quigley ain't no killer, but he has fought on the championship level. Andre was a champion. He got stopped by Andre, who wasn't a puncher. So this is when you start looking deep into the numbers, the resume of the opponents, and the guys that have been knocked out and you're not knocking out, yet you knocked out 16 straight in the first round. You know how hard is it to knock someone out in the first round as a professional? It's hard. Doing it 16 straight times, that's a next coming of Mike Tyson. That wasn't the case. So now a lot of questions are being asked of Berlanga. And these are questions that need to be answered. You need to knock out this next guy. He's undefeated, but he's unmatched. He hasn't fought the level of opposition that you have. So go out there and make a statement and get that shine back. Get that killer mentality back. Get that bad boy knockout artist back. And he can do it with one big knockout. So this is his opportunity.
All right, let's talk about the opponent, Padraig McCrory, who is coming in with an undefeated at record, 18-0, 9 knockouts on his resume. But as you said, has not faced elite level competition. How big a challenge, or how seriously should we take Padraig McCrory's chances in this fight?
He has that O. He's undefeated. He's unbeaten, but he's untested. You know, and if you look behind the numbers, he hasn't really fought anyone that Berlanga has a better resume than McCrory. So I think this fight is the type of fight where you're meant to look good. McCrory has a good right hand and he's aggressive, but he doesn't have speed, he doesn't have footwork, he doesn't have the experience, and that's going to be the main thing. Experience. You know, Jason Quigley had experience, Steve Rose experience, Coceres, all these guys that went the distance with Berlanga have fought on a championship level, came up short, but they fought on the championship level. McCrory hasn't. So this is a type of fight where you're supposed to look like a killer, and he's going to be in front of you. He doesn't have much head movement. He's not fast. He's not the most powerful puncher, and the right hand's all you have to really look out for. So yeah, this is the type of fight where Berlanga needs to look spectacular, and I think he should against a fighter that's not really much of a threat. Looks good on paper, shines like a nickel, but doesn't really have everything else going for him.
Oh, I disagree. I think that McCrory is a bigger threat than you're giving him credit for.
Really?
One of the members of Berlanga's team told me recently that McCrory is a guy with 9 knockouts that fights like he's got 18 knockouts. He fights like he really is a power puncher. I love that about him because he's coming to fight in a fight like this. He is not looking to do what Jason Quigley did, which is kind of try to steal a decision. He knows he's going to have to knock this guy out to get a win. And from what I've seen, he does have power, especially in the early rounds of his fight. You go back to his fight a couple of years ago against Leon Bund, who's not a well-known name in boxing, but that was for a minor IBO title. Leon Bund was an undefeated opponent, and McCrory just walked right through him. He dominated, and that was a fight that took place at 175 pounds. So McCrory does have power coming into this fight. Where McCrory gets into trouble is in the later rounds. When I watched his fights, when he gets past the 5th and 6th rounds, he starts to tire. The power is a little bit less. The hands drop down. He fights kind of with the hands around his waist, and that's when he's more vulnerable to getting hit and getting knocked out. But in the early rounds of this fight, if he takes the fight to Edgar Berlanga, I think he's going to have a shot at doing some damage here. I think you are discounting the Irishman, the Northern Irishman in this fight, and I think that is disrespectful to Padraig McCrory.
What's your lineage, Chris Mannix?
I am Irish. That is correct.
Of course you are. No, listen, some of my favorite writers and poets are Irish, but no, it's not that, man. It's not that. It's the fact that McCrory doesn't have the speed or the power. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the resume. If you really look into the numbers, I mean, there's no one there that I can actually say, wait, he gave this guy a tough fight. Yes, he has a good right hand. Yes, he's tough and he's unbeaten, but it's going to take more than that, especially when Berlanga is going to be motivated to have a big knockout. And he's had the experience against good fighters that have experience moving around, not engaging, lasting the distance. McCrory likes to engage. He's looking for that right hand. He's looking for that knockout. Berlanga should look really good in this fight, unless he gets hit with that right hand, like Coceres caught him, and he was able to drop Berlanga. But I think he learned from that. So Edgar Berlanga learned from his mistakes. He learned from the bad press. He learned from his, going the distance and the fact that a lot of people are counting him off as a star. So no, it's time for him to shine. I think he will. And he has a perfect opponent in front of him. Not to take nothing away against your fellow Irishman here, Chris Mannix, but he's 35 years old. He doesn't have the resume, and I just don't see him having the speed or the high IQ to get past the 5th round. The reason he's not a distance fighter, a second half fighter, is because those legs are in their mid-30s. That's what happens.
Well, one thing to remember about McCrory is that this is his championship bout. This was a guy that turned pro at 27 years old and really only had dreams of winning an Irish title. The fact that he's fighting Edgar Berlanga on a big stage with an opportunity to fight for a world title in his next fight, or at least in a bigger fight in his next fight, the motivation is going to be there for Padraig McCrory. I think this is going to be an excellent fight, at least in the first half of it, while both these guys are throwing bombs. So you've heard what we think, how the main event will play out. Let's see how the fighters feel ahead of Saturday's showdown. Here's what they had to say earlier in the week.
McCrory's a tough guy. He's coming from Ireland. He's undefeated. He's coming from the bottom just like I am. And we ready. Every fighter is gonna come to try to beat me, and we know that. I know the competition is getting more heavier, more tougher. So we just prep very well for this camp. We never overlooked him, his camp. or anything, you know, because at this level, anything can happen. And we understand that as a fighter. You know, the 168 division, you can have no power, but you put on 10-ounce gloves, anybody could punch. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, we took this fight very serious. We taking him very serious, you know, and I'm happy that he took the fight. You know, obviously we was trying to reach for that Munguia fight, for this fight. But, you know, obviously, you know, it didn't happen. So, you know, we chose Padraig McCrory to fight. But, yeah, we ready.
This is the biggest fight of my career, and I've trained like it is. And now it's up to me on Saturday night just to put on a show. There's been a lot of work going on. I started in 2017. I'm 35 and people are questioning why only 18 fights. But I didn't fight until I was 29. And then COVID happened, so I've been very busy. I built my career here, and people believe in me. But the main thing is I believe in myself, and I believe that this is the platform and the opportunity that I need.
At this time, you know, my main focus is this Saturday, you know what I'm saying? It's Padraig McCrory. I don't give a about, you know, Canelo. I don't care about Munguia. You know what I'm saying? There's this man across from me that's trying to take my oath. So I got to put my main focus on this man, and I got to handle my business. And then eventually we can focus on these other guys.
First off, I think he's a very good fighter. He's the main event. He's the star. I look about. I don't see me, so it's the Berlanga show. I'm just here to show up. I'm from West Belfast. No one expects anything. But I think he's a great fighter. But I think I got like what it takes to win this fight, and we have practiced and meticulously went through a lot of tactics. Whether if it's A, B, or C, we're ready for what he has to bring.
I ain't have it all nice. You know, when I turned pro, nobody wanted to sign me. You know, my first 3-4 fights was in Mexico. You get what I'm saying? So I got it from the mud too. So I know they coming, we coming too. He's Irish, we Puerto Rican, man. We get it popping.
I've been screening for this opportunity. Matchroom and DAZN, the biggest platform for me in the sport, and now I'm here. It's up to me to show up.
Here's a reminder of what's coming your way on the main card this Saturday night. We start with Yankiel Rivera taking on Andy Dominguez. Then we'll see Antonio Vargas against Jonathan Rodriguez. The Wonder Boy, Shakram Giasov, faces Pablo Cesar Cano. Our co-main is between the exciting prospect Andy Cruz and Brian Zamaripa. Then the main event sees undefeated Edgar Berlanga take on fellow unbeaten super middleweight Padraig McCrory. The countdown is nearly over. Join the DAZN team from 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night, 1 a.m. Sunday morning for those watching in the UK and Ireland, for what is sure to be a great night of fights.
I visualize myself knocking him out.
I'm coming for blood. I know I got the power. I know I got everything it takes to hurt anybody.
I'm one punch away from changing my life. Berlanga's in for a native shock.
It's a real dangerous fight for both.
The Irish are coming.
Scale C, February 24th. I'm gonna stop. I know I'm his big fish.
Like Berlanga's didn't pass me, and I think it's a big mistake.
2 massive punches. Someone is going to sleep.